Hopefully it's not strange that there's a pole coming out of my head. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Emily, and this is another What I Ate in a Week. This one's gonna be dorm themed / microwave themed, because the only kitchen tool, appliance, whatever that I was allowed to use other than a fridge is the microwave. Before I started filming this video and like planning for it and stuff, I did some Instagram polls and I asked what my followers might have or what they have in their dorms. A lot of people had, you know, a toaster or a Keurig or a rice cooker or whatever. So I was debating on like during this week, should I like use the rice cooker but limit myself to using it only once or twice and use the toaster only once or twice or whatever, but just like focus on the microwave. But then I found out from my cousin who lives in the dorms, they're not even allowed to have any of those things, that they're pretty much only allowed to have or supposed to have a microwave and mini fridge. And just to be the most relatable, I decided that I'm only going to use a microwave. However, I did screw up, and the first day I used a toaster. And I also want to point out that more than ever, try not to judge for the appearance of some of these things or for the untraditionalness, the unconventionalness of some of the meals, because I only had a microwave. And also, if you were cooking food in a dorm, realistically, it would not be so pretty. I say that as if my other videos are aesthetic and professional looking. Yeah, I learned a lot, and I hope you guys will learn a lot as well. Coming in hot, starting it out with me already forgetting the rules of the assignment. So first off, I want to say that I wanted to show a lot of ways throughout this video that you can incorporate fruit into your breakfast, or into your meals, but into your breakfast especially, without having fresh fruit or without having a lot of fresh fruit to use. So one of those ways is using frozen berries. Berries tend to be kind of expensive, but you can get them cheaper a lot of the time when you get them frozen. I've seen a lot of people on YouTube where they just throw frozen raspberries or whatever into their cereal, and I don't know how you do that. That sounds gross to me, but I like to microwave frozen berries and then put them on top of things or just stir them into hot things. And obviously I'm not supposed to be using toast. I mean, you don't have to have a toaster to do this. You could use regular bread, a rice cake. You could use, I don't know, cracker bread or something. Throughout this video, again, another thing that I'm going to mention a lot is that I went kind of extra on a lot of these meals. I wanted to add like fun toppings and stuff. One, to make it more fun / creative, show you more options. Two, to be a little more nutritious, but of course it'd be simpler and a little cheaper, I guess, to not have all these things on there. But if you have them, healthy fats. But I really like the shredded coconut on top of that. If you ever have shredded coconut, I don't know, it adds like a nice little sweetness, a nice little texture. On this day was when I did the bulk of my grocery shopping, or pretty much all of my grocery shopping, and I got back from grocery shopping and I was really hungry and I just wanted to eat something right away that was quick and easy, and I didn't care if it was random. Ew. And also my cousin who went grocery shopping with me is splitting this lunch with me too, so everything that I'm showing is shared between the two of us. And I just split that split pea soup between the two of us and just microwaved it. And then I also cut in half a pita and we dipped it in some hummus. It's the coconut curry hummus. I kind of regretted getting that later because it's obviously not as versatile as like a plain hummus or more basic flavor of hummus that I can use in several things throughout the video. And also I'm using kitchen scissors here, which don't worry, they go through the dishwasher. They're only used on food, and I pretty much just use them on pita bread and green onion, which you'll see a lot in this video. Yeah, that was the lunch. I also put some pepper and garlic salt into the soup because it's a little bland, and I also melted some Parmella Creamery pepper jack cheese into it. I found that on sale at Grocery Outlet and I wanted to try it. Obviously not necessary, but it was interesting. It added a little bit of, you know, special creaminess to the soup, a little bit of pizzazz, if you will. I don't know, it just looks like enchilada sauce. Enchilada sauce. All right, so for dinner, I made a nice pita pocket sandwich. It was delicious, easy, simple, fun, and pretty quick. Initially, before I started grocery shopping for this video, where I was planning what I was thinking about making for this video, I was planning on looking for the Morningstar falafel patties, but I didn't see them at the store, and I ended up seeing this corn brand chicken patty, which was cheaper than I think the Morningstar would have been if I found it. And also I figured that like a chicken patty would be more versatile to use in more than, in more different meals. So basically, I just took 2 of the chicken patties and microwaved them for a couple minutes and then cut them into little cubes. And then I cut up all my little veggies. I have some cucumber, tomato, spinach, and green onion. And I just cut my pita in half and I stuffed it. I also used some tahini. This is just like plain tahini, or it's roasted garlic, but it's not a tahini sauce. I'm trying to do the least steps possible, so I was just putting this tahini in there straight. But personally, I'm not a big tahini fan. I probably would prefer to just have hummus. But obviously, I bought that coconut curry hummus, so wasn't going to use that. And then I also just squirted some lemon juice and salt and pepper into that. When you season directly into the pita, it's hard to get it equally dispersed throughout everything. So if you're like worried about that, you can always mix everything together in a bowl separately and then scoop it into the pitas. After making this, I was like, why don't I make like pita pocket sandwiches more often? Because it's so easy and you don't have to cook. You just have to make whatever your protein is, you might have to cook. But like I just microwaved it, so it was super easy. So Wednesday, for breakfast, I made oatmeal, some minute oats. I made a whole cup of oats, or a whole cup of dry oats, which I really didn't need. That ended up being a lot with all the toppings I put on. Typically, if I'm going to put like a lot of toppings on top of my oatmeal, especially like granola, something that's hearty, I will just make a half cup of dry oats. And then if I'm going to do a more simple bowl of oats where there's not so much inserts or toppings, I'll do a whole cup. Otherwise, I might just end up with too much food. I bought this apple butter from the Jewish section of the grocery store, which obviously you don't have to get apple butter from the Jewish section only, but in case you want to find this particular brand, the only ingredients in there were apples and apple juice, I believe. There was no added sugars, and it's really good for just like adding flavor and natural sweetness to a meal or a breakfast. I just put a big scoop of that apple butter and a big scoop of the peanut butter and stirred it in with also some cinnamon, and then I also put a splash of oat milk. I crumbled up some apple chips into it, some dried apple. With the dried apple mixed into there and the apple butter and stuff, it honestly kind of reminded me of the like apple cinnamon Quaker Oats packets that I used to love and try not to eat now. I really like the dried apple mixed into there once it gets like soft in the warm oatmeal. Add some nice texture, added some granola on top, just like as in showing you another option, and also for people who have a texture problem, it's good to add like some crunchy things into oatmeal. But obviously the granola was not necessary, especially since I had a whole cup of oats. That's what I'm saying, like this ended up being too much food for me in the morning. So then for lunch, I attempted to make a potato salad with only the microwave, and I followed directions for making a baked potato in the microwave, which definitely worked, but I should have scaled back a couple minutes or a minute because I didn't need to have it so fully cooked to where it was kind of like, mashed, because I'm going to stir it in with a bunch of other things. It just ends up being a mashed potato salad, very similar to the chickpea salad recipe that I show in a lot of my videos, and I'll link this recipe below. But it's just mayonnaise, lemon juice, some mustard, some pickles. I used relish because I was trying to show, obviously if you live in a dorm, you probably want to cut the least things possible, and relish is just like cut up pickles. And then I put some garlic salt, some seasoned pepper, some paprika, and stirred it all up. Oh, and there's also some cut up bell pepper, green onion, and celery in there. You could stop here and that would be a nice little potato salad, but I wanted to make it possible that you could eat this as like a full meal where there's some protein in there too. Initially, I wanted to add some like baked tofu chunks in there, like plain tofu, hoping that it would just kind of like blend in with the potato. But then I realized that all the tofu that I bought was like already flavored and with like Asian sauces or marinades or whatever. Didn't think that would fit for this. My next choice was like chickpeas or like white beans or something where it wouldn't make it look weird. But all we had was black beans, so I didn't plan this one too well. Taste wise, it didn't hurt it. It just made it look kind of ugly and less appetizing, obviously. And then for dinner this night, I made like a little microwave stir fry tofu stir fry thing. So this is the first time I'm using this brown minute rice. I bought the brown rice because I was trying to be a little healthier, but it's significantly more cost-wise than the white one. So if you're super budgeting, the white one is like, I think half the price of the brown rice, especially if you're going to buy it like, you know, a lot. But anyways, and I put some broccoli, carrots, and snow peas into my little microwave steamer thing that I bought on Amazon that I will link below. It honestly impressed me. Every time I used it for something, it worked perfectly. A lot of the time more than I thought it would. So I bought a peanut simmer sauce from Grocery Outlet that was on sale. I wanted to like try out at least one like simmer sauce in this video and see how it would be in the microwave. This one, I think it might have been a little plain, or it was just because usually if you put it on the stove for, you know, 10 minutes, 20 minutes or whatever, a lot of the water is going to boil out, so then it will become more strong in flavor. But I ended up adding things to it and then it was really good. I just let that sit for a sec to hopefully have the flavors absorb into each other. And then I took out my steamed veggies and mixed it with the tofu and the sauce and then microwaved that for a minute or so. I also added some soy sauce and sriracha to that. And later on I added some peanut butter also, which was the most important, the MVP of this meal. Peanut butter added to the peanut sauce really made it a lot better, a lot more flavorful. But yeah, I microwaved it one more time with the rice on the plate because the rice had started to get a little cold. But also I wanted to say that you really don't need like to buy a pre-made sauce if you want like a peanut sauce, for example. Honestly, I feel like you could get away with just like some oil, soy sauce, peanut butter, sriracha if you want a little spicy, and a little bit of water. I mean, you're making like dorm peanut sauce, so like what, you can't expect too much. And then the next day for breakfast, I'm just making cereal, and I didn't want to just put cereal and milk in a bowl because obviously you know that you can eat that. So I was trying to show like a little variety, a little more creative and nutritious way of eating cereal. So I mixed in some cereal and some granola and some crushed up dried apple chips. And I was going to add coconut chips. I ended up not doing that, but that's another option if you have them. I also added some peanuts because the cereal that I had was peanut butter flavored. I was just going with the theme, you know. That was kind of good actually. I felt like it was weird at first, but like I add walnuts or pecans to my cereal sometimes, so it shouldn't be weird. For lunch, I just had potato salad leftovers and I put some more green onion on top of it. I really was using the green onion more often in this video than I expected to because it went limp immediately, which was really upsetting. So at this point, I was just trying to get rid of it and use it as much as I could. Also, I felt bad about how ugly this potato salad looked. So that could be like a good thing to take with you like to school or to class or whatever. Hopefully you can make yours look better than mine though. And then for dinner, I was going to make macaroni and cheese. I was really excited about this. I didn't know how the microwaving of pasta would go, and it went really well. I found this video explaining how to microwave different noodles, and I'll link it below, but it was really helpful. Basically, I wanted to see how it would be if you used cashew butter to make a cashew cheese sauce, because I like to make macaroni and cheese sometimes when I have a lot of cashews and I, soak the cashews and then blend the cashews and then add a bunch of other things, and I have a cashew cheese sauce for the mac and cheese. But obviously most of people in dorms don't have a blender available to them. So what you can do is get some cashew butter and just mix that with other things, because cashew butter is basically just pre-blended cashews. Cashew butter can be a little expensive. It's definitely more expensive than peanut butter, but if you find it on sale, I found it on super sale because it was expiring in like a week. But I just wanted to put this out there that this is an option. I tried to find for these recipes in this video like the simplest version of them that I could, so that it'd be the least ingredients that you would have to have for them. But obviously it's going to be better the more ingredients you have, like the more you can spice it up and add things to it, it's going to be better. But I was just trying to show the most simple way of doing things. So basically it was just cashew butter, nutritional yeast, lemon juice, and then some seasonings like garlic powder, pepper, salt, and a little bit of turmeric, I think just for color. You could stir it together. I used a whisk, which worked a lot quicker. I think stirring it would take a long time to get it really smooth. Honestly, the sauce didn't really taste like a cheese sauce, and it was very cashewy, and I'm sure that was partially because of my math being somewhat incorrect, because I was trying to like convert a measurement of raw whole cashews to the same, an equivalent measurement of cashew butter. But I would say, since you're not blending anything, you're just stirring it together in a bowl, it's really easy to just keep adding things until you get it to something that you like the taste of. So I would just start with a smaller amount of cashew butter than you think you'll need, so that it doesn't end up just tasting like cashews. But I ended up adding more of every other ingredient because I didn't want it to just taste like cashew butter. I also ended up adding some plain oat milk because that oat milk that I had wasn't vanilla or sweetened. So I just added a little bit of that just to give it more creaminess or whatever. When I tried it with just the macaroni, it was just fine. It wasn't anything special, and it didn't really taste like mac and cheese, just kind of like a creamy macaroni. Also, I steamed a bunch of broccoli in the microwave steamer. Once I mixed in the broccoli, and I also added in a bunch of crunchy fried onions. These are just the Trader Joe's brand, but you can use whatever one is vegan. Once I mixed in both of those things, it was a lot better, especially because of the flavor that the onions gave it, and the different textures. And also, that was, I think, 3 portions of macaroni with also a ton of sauce left over. So you can either make a ton of macaroni or freeze the sauce for later, or you can just, make a smaller version of the recipe, of course. And on Friday, for breakfast, I made another bowl of oats. This time I did use a half cup of dry oats because I was going to add some toppings. And this time I added in some frozen blackberries and also some frozen blueberries. This was supposed to be like a berry chocolate oatmeal. I kind of regret adding the cacao powder though, because I was just trying to do something a little different rather than just putting peanut butter in it. But once you put cacao powder into something, you have to make sure you have enough like sweetness to counteract the bitterness of, the chocolate flavor. And I felt like I added more agave than I would have liked to add. Like if I didn't add the cacao powder, I probably wouldn't have needed that much agave, if you know what I'm saying. So if I was going to do this again, I would just not add cacao powder. I would just do the berries and the peanut butter. That's more than enough flavor and, ingredients. But also you could, if you really want like a chocolate flavor, what's better is to break up a few dark chocolate squares, like squares from a dark chocolate bar, and just like let those melt into the oatmeal and just kind of swirl them into it. That's better and easier than adding cacao powder and then trying to counteract the bitterness with sweetener. Then for lunch, I'm making another pita sandwich thingy, and I'm using the same veggies as before, except I'm gonna add avocado this time. But this one, instead of doing the lemon juice and tahini, I just did barbecue sauce, so like a barbecue chicken pita. And this was also really good, actually better than I thought it would be. I wasn't sure how I would like it with just barbecue sauce, but it was really good. But also this time, I only used 1 chicken patty. I realized I really didn't need 2 of them the last time. That ended up being a lot of food, especially since I was eating a whole pita. And also that's a little cheaper if you're trying to, spread out your food longer. And this time I did mix it together before scooping it into the thing. I should have done it in a bowl rather than this plate because that was a little difficult. I couldn't fit all of it on there at once. This is also cheaper than the tahini because barbecue sauce, you can get like a really cheap barbecue sauce and it packs the flavor. And then for dinner, this is one of my lesser favorite meals of this video. I just wanted to make like a baked potato with chili and cheese sauce on it because I thought that would be a simple, easy dinner. And I didn't realize the cheese sauce was going to be like totally solidified, or not solidified, but like thickened up a lot. I thought I could just drizzle it on there. Definitely not. It was more of like a peanut butter at that point, which was fine. Also, I did not like this chili. This was not good chili. I don't know if it's just because it wasn't cooked on a stove and it needed to be, but it was bland. It just tasted like canned chili. It just wasn't good. I would not recommend it. It was just the cheapest vegetarian chili I could find, but I would recommend the Denison's brand vegetarian chili over this one. They're both inexpensive though and easy to find at regular grocery stores, at least in my area. I also put some green onion and salt and pepper on top of that, and yeah. Saturday, for breakfast, I attempted to make a baked sweet potato the way that I always do in the oven. This is another meal that I was a little disappointed with, mainly because I just didn't cook the sweet potato enough. This was a really big sweet potato. I should have tried to find a smaller sweet potato to use for this video for the microwave, but we already had sweet potatoes and they were all big. I mean, I could have microwaved it for longer, but I had already microwaved it over the time that they told me to. So I was like, I don't want to light things on fire, so I'm just gonna be fine with this. And also I could have done the whole method where you wrap it in a wet paper towel, but I was trying not to use a paper towel. If anyone else has more like tips for microwaving sweet potatoes to where it's like really cooked, soft, juicy, let me know. This is how I often make myself a baked sweet potato in the fall time, especially like for a healthier dessert option, is I'll just bake sweet potatoes in the oven and I'll put agave and cinnamon and maybe some coconut oil or earth balance, and then I might sprinkle some nuts or seeds on top of it depending on what we have. It's really good when you cook the sweet potato well. I also like to put a splash of milk on there. I don't know if that's weird, but also keeps it from like being kind of dry. And for lunch, okay, so I feel bad for people in dorms that can't have toast because you don't have a toaster. So I found these matzos in the Jewish section of the grocery store, and I was really excited about them because it's basically like a giant cracker, but perfect for if you're someone who likes to have like toast a lot, where you like something crunchy to put your avocado or peanut butter or whatever on top of. And I really wanted to try it for some avocado toast. I tried to make this pretty by doing like a fan of sliced avocado. I ended up just mashing it down anyway because this is just not practical, but I tried. I was trying to be creative. I also went a little extra in the toppings. I put some lemon juice, I put some cumin, I put some salt and pepper and some crushed red pepper. And I also ended up putting some hot sauce later on. And also I realized after doing this that it's better to break the matzo in half or quarters before you put the toppings on. I kept just putting the toppings on the whole thing, and then it's annoying to eat it afterward because you either have to pick up a giant cracker or break it apart with all the toppings on it, and it's just kind of like, falling off. And then for dinner, I first made some brown minute rice. As you'll notice in this video, every time I make this damn minute rice, I change the container that it's in a billion times because I could just never seem to cook it correctly. It just was always either uncooked or overcooked. So in this meal, I was trying it out in the microwave steamer, just taking out the little steam divider to see how that would work. I was trying to do like a microwave fried rice, which I saw in some like dorm hack videos, which I think are mostly bullshit, but I tried. So I put some sesame oil in there, and then I cut up this braised tofu, which definitely wasn't the correct flavor for this, but I had limited options for tofu at the store, so I just wanted to try it out anyways. But the braised tofu had more of like a pho kind of flavor. It had like star anise in it and like cinnamon and stuff. It was interesting and I liked it, but not the correct thing for fried rice necessarily. I cut it up into small chunks and I mixed that into the rice. I mixed the frozen veggies into the rice and also some frozen edamame beans into the rice. I added some soy sauce. I added some hoisin because we have it. That's, obviously just use whatever you have available to you, but I wanted to try that out. Also, like, I bet sweet chili sauce would have been a good addition. I added some coconut oil later because I just felt like the sesame oil alone is like a little bit too much sesame flavor. That like coconut oil would add some more moisture without adding more sesame flavor. Honestly, personally for me, I would have preferred to just steam some veggies and mix them in, but I was trying to do something cheaper and easier and something that won't go bad as quickly. So Sunday for breakfast, I made another peanut butter fruit toast, but I made it on another matzo. And also I wanted to point out that when I bought those, at first I was like, wait, is this like wrong? Like, is this like stupid or maybe offensive that I'm like putting, you know, random toppings or whatever I want on top of it? So I Googled matzo toppings, like what do people normally put on it? And there was a bunch of like blog articles that came up. One even by the Chloe vegan restaurant chain that were just showing different things that you can put onto your matzo or matzos to make them more fun or interesting or whatever. And there was a lot of really interesting ones. I'm going to share an article below that had like, it was supposed to be matzo toppings from all over the world. Anyways, so I wanted to make some toast with it. Back to the video. Again, I went overboard with the, you know, making it annoyingly fun looking. Which it would have been a lot easier to just break the thing in half first and put like, you know, just some apple slices on it. But yeah, this was a mistake. But anyways, I also had some more potato salad leftovers that I just did not want to show. So I just showed my dog instead. For dinner, I made some minute brown rice. Again, this time, did I add? Oh, I tried to add a bay leaf. I don't think it did anything. I just kind of wanted to see, you know, if that was possible. I definitely overcooked this. As you can see, I moved it into a second bowl to cook it in, and it did not work. It was extremely overcooked, but since I mixed in those black beans, it kind of absorbed some of the moisture of those as I microwaved those and kind of came back to life, kind of came back to edibleness. And honestly, those black beans that I mix in with it was actually really good. It's just like simple beans and rice, but like good flavor, you know? I was just going to make steamed veggies with a little bit of oil and salt and pepper with the beans and rice just to have a veggie option. But my mom was already making salad, so I made myself a little salad and I put some avocado and some sesame balsamic, I think, dressing on it. I hate salad. Every time I eat salad, unless it's like a very specific kind of salad that I like, I regret eating it and I wish I just had steamed veggies instead. But alas, I ate salad. And anyways, let's move on. I don't need to rant about salad in this video. I feel like I've already done that before. Then on Monday, this is the last day of the video. Well, actually, this was on Sunday night. First, I was making myself some chia seed pudding. And I put some cacao powder in this one, so it was a chocolate chia seed pudding. I also put some agave. I put some oat milk, and I spilled it everywhere, which is real embarrassing. I also put some peanut butter into the pudding, which, for future reference, gave it a slightly different texture than I would have preferred because it made it like slightly more of like a grittier texture. If it doesn't bother you, it's easier to just add the peanut butter in while you're making it, so you have less things to do when you eat it in the morning. But preference wise, if I do have time, I would prefer to just mix in some peanut butter in the morning, like swirl it in or top it with that. Just a note for the texture people out there. Like, it gives it less of a pudding texture, if that makes sense. A little less smooth. And also the recipe that I was looking at chia seed pudding off of said that it's important to stir it a little bit and then wait a few minutes and then stir it more so that you can really get the chia seeds dispersed well in there so that they'll absorb the liquid properly. And then in the morning, I put it into a pretty little bowl and I topped it with some banana and again, some microwaved blueberries. And again, a note for myself. I personally don't really like bananas, just eating them on their own. I just kind of wanted to make it look nicer. And also I felt weird that I hadn't eaten like any bananas in this video. So I put it on top. And if you like bananas, that's a good option. But again, personally for me, for future reference, I would rather mash up the banana into the chia seed pudding so that it can, first of all, naturally sweeten the chia seed pudding. And also, I think I would have liked that better than texture-wise than eating chopped up banana on top, if that makes sense. And then, like I said, I just added the microwaved blueberries on top of that. That looked so beautiful. I was very proud. This is probably the most nice looking meal that I made on this video. Then for lunch, I made another pita. I tried to use up more of the coconut curry hummus. So I put some bell pepper in this one and spinach and snow peas. And I also used the rest of the sesame ginger tofu. I microwaved it with some Bragg's liquid aminos. You could also use soy sauce and some sriracha. And then I just put it in with all these other things. And I wasn't a huge fan of this, mostly because of that hummus. I'm just really trying to figure out, what to do with it. But I liked the tofu. I thought that was like a good option. And if it had a different sauce/seasoning mixture, I would have liked the tofu more in there. But yeah, I just ate a half of that because I wasn't a huge fan of it. And then I just ate the other half of the pita plain. And then for dinner, I made some more rice. And this time I made it in a bigger bowl because it kept boiling over in different bowls. So I think that's a good tip, that if you're going to be microwave cooking a lot of things in your dorm or just in a microwave wherever you are, it's nice to have at least one really big bowl to where there's a lot of room for things to not boil over it, because that's what I made my macaroni in and it worked really well. And then this was the best time that I made the rice. It was the only time that it turned out actually correct in the correct amount of time without having to switch bowls or anything. And then I also made some edamame. I bought the edamame beans and also the edamame in pods to show different options. There's microwave instructions on the packet, but I just felt like trying it out in this steamer thing. I put a little bit of coconut oil, a little bit of sesame oil, and I put a little more than I planned to want because I knew a lot of it would just kind of like slide off of the edamame pods when I take them out of there, if that makes sense. And I also wanted to make some miso soup. I didn't really know how to go about this, and then I felt dumb afterwards because there was actually already microwave ingredients on the miso paste container that I bought. I knew that you're not supposed to actually cook miso or miso paste. You're supposed to boil the water or heat up the water and then add the miso in. But I wanted to put like the tofu and the green onion in the water first so that, so that they would cook, and also so that they would maybe share their flavors with each other, if that makes sense. I added a little bit of sesame oil to the soup, and I also tried to add these dulse flakes, which I thought would add like a good flavor. I don't really know if they did anything good for this. I also got scared that I added too much, and also it made it look a little ugly when you mix it around. I don't think that miso soup was the right thing to add these to, but I just wanted to try it out. I also added some more dulse flakes on top of the rice, just like to make it look more interesting. Completely not necessary. The edamame actually turned out really good. I put some salt on top of that too. And the miso soup, I just put, I think it was a teaspoon of the miso paste into it. And it's so weird because I never really used miso paste before, but it reminded me of cookie dough. And also, I don't know if it's just me, but this one seemed a little bit bland. I've said this about so many things on this channel. Maybe I'm just a snob. I mixed in a little bit more than was recommended. I added some salt, I added a little bit of soy sauce, and it was pretty good, especially with the tofu in there. That's like a good way to add some protein. And also, I realized after I did this that there's not really any veggies in this meal, which I felt kind of bad about, but I had veggies for lunch, so I didn't feel too bad. Alright, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Please leave comments, including suggestions of other things to make in the microwave. Leave them in the comments for the other dorm students below, / people living in a hotel, / people with minimal kitchen, / lazy people, and etc. Signing out. Very smooth transition over there.